Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are back with Coach Jesse Lee. Excited to have him here to
Yes,
share the work that he does with his counseling, with his coaching, and how he could be of service to you. Lee'sCoachingConsulting.com is the website. And we're back to, we want to thank our friend for coming back here to talk more today about the work he's doing. Hi, Jesse.
how are you, Jill?
I'm good, thank you. And happy almost Thanksgiving. How was your family?
Everybody's doing great. I'm just cooking away right now.
Oh, hosting at your house. You're not too far. He's in Connecticut. I'm in New York. I can
Yes.
maybe make it over in time. Aw. Well, it's kind of sweet to have you back. And I know today we're going to
Yes,
talk a little about discovering my life's journey and understanding leverage. But before we get into
absolutely.
that, just tell us a little bit about yourself since people may not be aware of who you are yet.
Hi, my name is Jesse Lee. I'm an education coach, a life coach, a spiritual coach, and I offer other services. I help people with everyday needs and their challenges.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being here, for joining us. And leverage. Let's start off with that. What exactly is leverage?
It's so interesting because I thought about that word the other day, and leverage is really taking everything that you have right now, all the resources, and taking it to that advantage so you can be successful. And a lot of us don't know how to utilize leverage. People who are maybe lower income, people who are, don't have enough resources and different things like that. People become successful because they're strategic and using the things that they have in order to become successful. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what leverage is.
Ooh, hoo, hoo. And we're here talking about that now. Also, in regards to discovering your life's journey, and we're talking about anyone's life journey out there and understanding it. So let's also talk about you and how did you find your identity? Could you share a little bit about that and your own purpose here in this world?
Absolutely. It took me a while to find my identity, Jill, because I was raised in a dysfunctional environment. And unfortunately, everyone don't have that perfect picket fence life, right?
Mm-hmm.
My dad was an alcoholic. My mother was a working parent. I consider her single. She was married, but she was just doing a lot of things. She was taking all the responsibility and she was just doing so much that I really didn't see her too much because she worked a lot, right? So I had to kind of discover that journey on my own and I had to figure out, well, who am I and what am I really good at, right? So in order to do that, Jill, and this was not the best strategy was, but I blocked everything out. And I kind of put everything in books and education and did all that just to satisfy myself, just to feel that and just to be reassured that I'm great and I wanted people to see me that I was doing good, right?
Yeah.
But but that wasn't the solution. I really had to dig deeper. I really had to figure out who I was, and that's where religion came into place. That's where I felt something, and I didn't really see them, but I felt the love and the joy and the contentment, and I knew that even when my insecurities and my mistakes and my flaws, I was accepted,
Yeah.
and that was a relationship with God.
Aw. And
Absolutely.
your grandmother also was very
Oh,
spiritual, right?
Prophet Miles. Yes, yes, yes. She was very pivotal. She was actually the one, and she's my pastor. She's been my pastor when I was in my mom's stomach. So
Oh
she
my
was actually the
gosh.
one that helped mold our family and just help be resilient, and have that belief in God and have that faith, knowing that everything is possible with him.
Mm, beautifully said. I love it. And what's her name again?
Prophet Sadie Lee Miles.
Perfect. That's right. And you said
Yes.
she has a street named after her in your
She
town,
had
or?
yes, in Norwalk, is 2 Berkeley Street in Norwalk,
Mm,
Connecticut. She has a street name, it's Pastor Sadie Miles Way.
mm-hmm.
So, it's so great because she's has a lot of citations, and she just did a lot for people. And you know what her main mission was, Jill, is just to love people.
Mhm.
and care about people. And
Aw.
in order to do that, she had to represent that through her love with Christ and God. And as she did that, now
Yeah.
she has a street sign. People can remember her from generation to generation.
Wow. Oh my
Yes,
goodness. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I know I
absolutely.
can empathize with you. I had struggles growing up as well. So it's good to hear because not everybody has the relationship their parents that they want to. So let's talk though about, how can we maybe be empathetic about understanding our parents' decisions in life instead of being
You know what?
angry, because that
Yes,
happens too.
absolutely. And you
Mm-hmm.
know what, Jill? A lot of us as adults, we're still angry with our parents.
Mm-hmm.
Why did these things happen? Why was I abused? Why was I not safe? Why was we going from house to house? Just different things that people go through. They don't really understand.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, the parents was in trauma and
Mm-hmm.
they was confused and they was not stable when they were younger, and they kind of brought this attitude and these different emotional dysfunctions into our households, which caused the household to be in havoc, right?
Yeah.
And Joe, this is what I say here, and a lot of people don't understand this. The study of psychology, and I suggest everyone to study this field because it's a great field, and it teaches us how people respond and why they act and why they do the things that they do. Right? It could be silly, to other people, but we don't understand those things. And I think in order for you to understand those things, you have to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Put yourself in the other person's shoes. No one is
Yeah.
perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as I evolved, Jill, I understood why my mother and why my father made the decisions that they made and
Yeah.
the mistakes that they made because of their internal trauma that was not treated.
Yep. Aw. Ah, it's so true. But we have to also be more empathetic to that instead of angry. But a lot of us do start off with anger, and we should turn it into empathy, right?
Yes, and that's why I'm here for, because a lot of us has embedded anger in us, Jill. And and
Mm-hmm.
and 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 the thing about it is we don't know we have it until we lash out with our partner or with our children, or somebody says something to us and we're like, why are you saying this to me? Or just leave me alone. And we just crack. And we don't know why we're cracking. But the thing is, it all stems to your little child that dwells inside of you, that little child, and that pain and that frustration and all those different things come into play when you're dealing and when you're communicating with people. So if you deal with your internal self, then you could be empathetic with that other person and understand the other person because you're dealing with yourself.
And could you share some of the struggles that you went through as a child?
Yes, and you know what? I went back all the way, Jill, and I'm not gonna say everything because I have some things behind scenes that I do want to bring out in the future. But I went through some things and I went back all the way years ago where my father was addicted to alcohol and he was unstable at times and he was in and out of the house. And what worried me, Jill, was I didn't see him days at a time. Sometimes, I didn't see him. And when he
Mm-hmm.
came in the house, it was like I was just so frustrated.
Yeah.
And that's where the anxiety stemmed in and the depression as I got older because of the unknown. I didn't know what was going to happen next, right?
Yeah.
So that was one of the struggles of me being in the house that morning, waking up and not seeing him, and then waking up again and not seeing him. And it was been and then we had to go out and look for him to see where he
Ah,
was at. And we finally found him, but it was like my heart dropped. And that was the part of the anxiety as I was younger.
yep.
Yeah. So that was one of the traumatic experiences that I did have. And these little things that we go through, Jill, we hide them and we
Mm-hmm.
kind of bury them to the point is now when we're older, we don't really remember them. And our brain is protecting us. That fight or flight is protecting us from those circumstances so we could live a normal life.
Mm.
But I am here to kind of tap into that and dig deeper. So now that brain could be activated and open up like a flower and now pinpoint all the little dots that happen in your life. And I can connect them. I can help connect them through my experience, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely.
Ah, wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. Never an easy thing and a lot that you remember. And looking back now, could you share about how was that relationship dynamic with your mom and your dad?
Well, you know what? With my mother was a tough person. And she didn't really say how she felt all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
she was a prayer warrior, Jill. She always prayed because she's always been in church since I was younger, right?
Yeah.
And I that value that she used with prayer and belief and faith, it trickled down to
Mm-hmm.
me. And that's what I loved about my mom. She
Mm-hmm.
didn't really express everything to me, but what I did know is through her prayer and through her faith, things started to shift and change for good, and things started to get better. And that's what I really love about her strength, her confidence, her relationship with God. I don't mention my mom enough, but I do want to make this clear, and whoever's listening, your mother and your father is great, but your mother is there. It's like a mother with love. They're there to kind of protect you and put their arms around you. And sometimes, Jill, they don't know how to do that
No.
physically. So they do that through prayer, they do that through different things. But we still feel that connection some way if we find a way to really see our parents internally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Internally.
And can I just ask from childhood to as an adult, how that's changed your relationship? Looking back as a child, being more upset, more angry, and you learned to forgive as you got older, I'm assuming. That's what I had to do.
Yes, yes. Can you repeat that? Because I'm sorry, something happens with
Yeah.
my earphone, right, Jen?
No, I said, but how you felt back then compared to how you feel now. There's that process of forgiving them for not knowing, right, the trauma they caused. So you went through that, I'm assuming, the forgiveness process.
Yes, and you know what, Jill? Sometimes I'm still going through it. And
Hmm.
this is normal, right?
Yep.
Because the things that we went through as children, sometimes we never had a chance to
Yep.
really investigate that real
Hmm.
childhood as not just being in a fairy tale, right?
Yeah.
You got to get what I'm saying. Like children are not supposed to really worry about different things around their environment. They're supposed to feel safe, right? And my children right now, they don't really know about the real world. They don't know what's going on. They're just under a shell, right? And as parents, we're there to protect them from those things if we can do it, if we're
Hmm.
capable of doing it.
Yep.
And I thank God, oh my goodness, I give God the glory that I developed into a great husband and a great person. And it took time. My wife developed, and we developed together. You have to develop together. You have to grow together. You have to evolve together. And
Hmm.
as you do that, put God first, as Denzel Washington would say. I listened to something. He said, anything that you do, you put him first. And the situation I'm in right now, and you think that I'm in a perfect fairy tale world, I'm doing great. It's because of my relationship with Christ.
Well, that's it. I was going to ask you, how do religion
Yes.
and church
Yes.
affect
Yes.
you and
Yes.
heal with everything? Yep.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yes. My relationship with God of calling on the name of the Lord, using the principles in the Bible, dissecting them and bringing them to life, helping others,
Hmm.
pouring out, pouring out, pouring out. And you know what? When you pour out, everything comes back to you
Yep.
indirectly and directly. A person at a coffee shop may pay for your coffee. A stranger may do something or say something that really touched your heart when you had a tough week, right?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
different. You kind of get what I'm saying? Different
Hmm.
things may happen in your life because of your greater good, the good things that you do, Jill. I know you experienced it before.
Yep.
Everyone have.
Beautiful. So religion, church really has helped. And again, faith to so many and putting God first. And I love that about you because not everybody was raised that way, but it's not too late to learn about God,
It's
to learn
not.
about religion and church. And that's something I also wanted to bring up because some people might who be listening saying, well, I never learned about that. Is it too late? Jesse, is there still time for me?
It's still time. It's never too late. And I remember in Psalm 38, he said, His mercy endures forever. He said, Forsake not the works of thy own hands. So I have my hands right here, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're telling God, David was telling God, You made me. You know I was flawed when I came in this earth. You know Adam and Eve broke the law, broke the covenant that you told them to do,
Mm-hmm.
and evil came on the world. And you know I was already polluted. Now I want you to fix me. I know your mercy endures
Yep.
forever,
Yep.
and that's the thing that we don't, those different analogies and things in the Bible, it helps us be mature individuals. And I am here to guide you through my spirit, that God spirit that dwells inside of me, which can penetrate through you and through everyone else to help you spiritually, guide you, have that relationship with God. Seek God. Jesus is the answer and is the way.
Yeah. So could you share, something, that really hurt you and, maybe, how you took the time to get over that? And, maybe there's a few things that you want to share with us.
Yes, the one thing I do want to share, and I think about this from time to time, is I was never able to cope or emotionally really release when my father died. And that was a tough time in my life, Jill, because when he died, I was actually in the episode of going through different things as depression and anxiety. So I wasn't really able to express myself or
Mhm.
really was able to kind of let go because of the stage I was in. It was unclear. I didn't
Yeah.
really know 100% of how to express my emotions. They were all over the place because the chemical imbalance and the different things that was happening in my life. So
Mhm.
I wasn't really able to cope.
Got it.
And I think that was the most hurtful thing because I didn't really release everything that I really had inside of me regarding my father and
Mhm.
reflecting on the good times because he was a brilliant man. He was very smart. And he taught me different knowledge about psychology. He always read the New York Times every morning when I did
Aw.
see him. He had the
Gee.
newspaper and he would
Yeah.
teach me different vocabulary words. And he was very giving. He had a great heart and he loved kids. He just loved people, but he had a weakness, right?
A
And
lot of us
and
do. No one's
and
perfect. I know.
and Jill, everyone have a different weakness. Everyone have a weakness of eating too much.
Yes.
Some people have a weakness of smoking too much. Everyone have a different weakness. But the weakness that was with him, it was affecting him
Mm.
every area of his life. The
Ah,
drug abuse, the drug addiction. And
yeah.
that weakness is so hard to monitor and to be control over. You really have to have God in your life. And you also really have to make the decision as saying, I am tired. I'm
Mhm.
tired of this frustration. I'm tired where I'm at right now. And Jill, biologically and chemically, when we put those drugs in our system, our body is calling for it now as we put it in
Mhm.
our system, right? So we're always going back. We're always going back. It's like that piece of pie that you wanted. And emotionally, you love the piece of pie and you have the taste and you understand what it is. And now you're going to keep going back to it eventually, every three
Yeah.
months, every 6 months, or whatever the case may be, or once a year, right? So that's
Mhm.
how the drug system is. It gets like that, but it's a system of way how to get around it. And I am even here to help the people who are coping with abuse and substance abuse and different things. There's a system get around it of how to find your individuality and get treated at the same time.
Amazing. Oh gosh, my heart goes out. My father had a big drug problem as well. And that was the biggest problem with my family because he was always spending the money doing the drugs, holding out a job, but then getting suspended from the job. And there was no steady income. And it caused my parents to fight. And then you got to forgive him because it is an addiction. Took over him. It wasn't him. It wasn't, and now God bless him, he's alive. My mom passed like 6 years ago. My sister's taking care of him, and he's a whole new man. He's
Oh, that's great.
75, whole new man. Like, what the hell did I do? Why was I? Now, everybody sometimes, takes the time to get over it, or maybe you lose your life to drugs, but sometimes you get the opportunity to realize, wow, and get that second chance, which, not everybody gets to. But so I can really empathize and really relate to today's conversation. I'm sure there's hundreds of people that feel the same. So thank you for opening up and talking about this too, because it's important to know. People might look at you and think you got it all right. You got a beautiful family, you got this,
Absolutely,
and oh me.
absolutely.
It's not, it doesn't always work that way. So, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It's how I learned to be a better person from looking at some failed, mistakes in someone else's life. So what if I didn't have that? Could I have went down the path of drugs? You just never know, right?
I get you, absolutely.
All right. So, okay, here we go. So let's talk a little bit about the little child in you. Are you completely healed or does it still need some improvement?
It's a work in process, Jill, and I don't even tell everyone this, but
Mm,
there are times that I just cry for no reason at all, and I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from, right? And the thing is, people need transparency, and when they
mhm.
look for a coach or when they look for someone that they need to trust, they need to know that you are real and you go through these different things that
Yeah.
they go through, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and I am here because I don't went through all walks of life. I don't experience a lot of different things and a lot of different trauma and struggles. But
Mhm.
what I will tell you is the more you pray, the more you believe in God, and the more you practice looking at yourself, saying those affirmations, saying you love yourself, saying you're gonna do the best that you can be, and you're gonna achieve more, and you're gonna be better than the
Mhm.
generation that you were in before. Right?
Mhm.
Saying those things. And I am here to keep reminding you of those things. But I also want to make this clear. I was there too. I
Yeah.
was there too. Whoever's listening right now, I was there too. And I am here to help you with your insecurities and with your flaws. And we're going to take the journey together.
Yep. Oh, and you're taking this journey together and you're walking people through this because so many people could use this type of help and let alone empathy. There's things now that you look back on and you realize, hey, you know what? Maybe this is why things turned out this way. Do you understand why now? Do you still question it?
I question it, but I understand that it happened for a reason because
Yep.
if it didn't happen that way, Jill,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be as intelligent and as in thorough of knowledge that I have right now regarding different things. And I want to say this too before we get off the air. I want to talk about the mirror technique, which I feel is a part of my practice of looking in the mirror and looking at those four people that you once was. The first mirror is the early childhood, the baby process. The second mirror is when you become an adolescent, is when you become a teenager, is when you start to learn different things and make decisions. The third mirror is you're transitioning from a teenager into adulthood and you're still trying to figure out your brain as your brain is starting to develop.
Yep.
And the fourth mirror is now.
Yeah.
Okay. So all those different mirrors, you're looking at one part from the beginning, and now you're looking at the present, and now
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at how you're gonna fix the
Yeah.
mirror into becoming one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ah, well, thank you for sharing that. Also, we just have 3 minutes left in the show. I kind of want to still, though, get to what we're talking about. Mental struggles. Did that affect you in your life? And were you maybe considered an outcast in a sense? Could you explain a little bit about this?
Yes, I feel I was never considered an outcast externally, but internally in my brain, I felt I was never good enough. I was never good enough to get the things that I wanted to get. I was never good enough to get to the level that I needed to be at, or to have that great house, or to have that great car, and to have that great career. I felt that I've been through too much trauma to be that person that may be educated and sophisticated and to have that great life, right?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Yes, 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 yes.
All right. Well,
So that's the
uh,
thing. Go ahead. I'm
mhm.
sorry.
No, no, no. I was going to ask you also about failure. So, but continue.
Failure, right? I
Yeah.
failed in a lot of things, Jill, and I understand why I did. It's because of inconsistency. Inconsistency and the lack of patience. The lack of patience, the lack of trusting the process, and being inconsistent causes us to block our goals and causes us to block our success. So, whoever's listening, I also want to make that clear, and I can discuss it further if you just go to leasecoachingconsulting.com and give me a call, 203-526-2914.
Perfect. Well, it's always a pleasure having you here. And let me just ask one last question. What is your definition of love, and how do you show love to your wife and to your children and others around you in the community?
Love is action. That expresses well. That's what my spiritual advisor said, Prophet Sadie Lee Miles. You demonstrate love by what you do and how you do it. You don't have to give financially, or it's not all about materialistic, but it's about investing your time, being there, being there at that soccer practice, making that date night for your spouse, being excited, getting those dozen of roses or that chocolate, whatever you want to do. Just demonstrate it by how you do it and what you do, and just don't say it,
Yeah.
but just be a vessel for God of knowing who you are.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. And if we want to reach out to you, tell us how again.
Lee'sCoachingConsulting.com. My email is jlee, number 2win at gmail.com. My phone number is 203-526-2914.
Aw, thank you so much. Pleasure again. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Happy holidays. And looking forward to the next time we connect. Jesse Lee, really amazing story and a lot to be thankful, be grateful for. And knowing that you're not alone. We've all walked through hard times. We can get through them and make our lives and other people around us, and their lives better. Thank you.
Absolutely. And happy Thanksgiving.
Same
Yay.
here, sweetheart. Thank you. Bye bye,
Bye
hun.
bye. Have a good
Bye.
one.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.